The jungle moon of Krellin 4 was loud with alien sounds. Strange birds flew between the giant purple trees. Sharp vines moved like snakes. Somewhere deep inside, something growled a sound that made even the bravest warriors stop and listen. This place was not safe. It was the home of the Tharnax, the deadliest creature in the galaxy, every 10 years. The Galactic Council held a competition called the Great Hunt. Only the strongest hunters from different planets were allowed to join. Their goal, to find and capture the Tharnax. It was nearly impossible. Most hunters returned in pieces, if they returned at all. Today was the start of the new hunt. At the edge of the jungle, a wide landing zone was full of ships, soldiers, and excited voices. Huge aliens in metal armor checked their weapons. Some had plasma blades, others carried explosive darts. Everyone was showing off. Everyone wanted to be the first to step into the forest, and then came the human. He arrived quietly, stepping out of a small transport ship. His name was Carter. No armor, no laser rifle, no team. Just a simple backpack, a belt, and boots covered in dust. On his hands were old leather gloves. A few aliens turned to stare. One laughed. "Is that, a human?" said a blue-scaled warrior from the Zarnok tribe. "Where's his gear?" Another asked, "Is this some kind of joke?" Carter didn't answer. He walked calmly toward the registration table. The official, a gray-skinned officer with 4 eyes, looked confused. "Name?" Kay asked. "Carter, from Earth," he replied. "Species, human." The officer asked again, as if he couldn't believe it. "That's right." The officer blinked, then looked at Carter's hands. "No weapons." "Nope." The officer leaned closer. "Do you understand what this is?" "This isn't a game. The Tharnax kills hunters like you in seconds. It doesn't matter how fast or strong you are. It's a monster." "I know," Carter said, with a small smile. "That's why I came." The officer shook his head and stamped the entry form. "Good luck, human. You'll need it." Behind Carter, alien hunters kept watching. A huge insectoid soldier whispered to his teammate, "He won't last an hour." One of the cameras floating above caught Carter's face. The live stream of the event was being watched across hundreds of worlds. On one alien space station, a group of kids pointed at the screen. "Is that guy really going in with no gun?" "Maybe. He's bait." In the VIP section, a group of rich alien nobles sat drinking colorful liquids and making bets. "Put 2,000 credits on the human dying first." One laughed. "He won't even make it past the first ridge." But Carter didn't care. He had heard it all before. For years, aliens had looked down on humans. Too soft, too weak, too emotional, but they didn't know the truth. Humans weren't the strongest. They weren't the fastest. But they were dangerous for one reason. They didn't give up. The countdown began. A large screen flashed. The hunt begins in 10, 9, 8. Carter stood near the tree line. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He could hear the birds. He could feel the wind. Somewhere in the distance, the ground shook. Something heavy was moving. He opened his eyes. 3, 2, 1. Loud siren echoed across the jungle. The hunters ran in. Blasters ready, scanners on. Some flew using jetpacks. Others drove fast jungle bikes. But Carter walked. Step by step, he entered the wild. The forest swallowed him whole. Inside, the air was thick. The light was green and gold. Massive flowers opened and hissed as he passed. A beast roared nearby. Carter moved without fear. He was calm. He had studied this place for years, not with computers, but with books. Old maps, survival stories, and most of all instinct. He knelt beside a tree and touched the soil. Fresh prints. Something big had moved here recently. He followed the trail, stepping lightly. Back at the control center, one of the alien commanders looked surprised. He's tracking already, without any tech. Another officer narrowed his eyes. What's he doing? This human? He's not normal. Deep in the jungle, Carter looked ahead and smiled. The hunt had truly begun. High above the jungle, in a floating command ship, many alien leaders gathered inside a glass observation dome. Large holograms showed live drone feeds of every hunter moving through the dangerous jungle of Krellin 4. Giant screens zoomed in and out, switching from thermal vision to real-time video. In one corner of the dome, a group of nobles sat on silver chairs, sipping glowing drinks. They were dressed in elegant robes and gold armor. Their eyes were fixed on one screen, on the human. Zoom in on the human called Carter. Ordered a tall alien with 3 horns and deep red skin, a high-ranking noble from the planet Velkar. The image shifted. On screen, Carter was walking quietly under the jungle canopy. He had no armor, no scanner, no backup drone. Only his eyes and footsteps guided him. "Is this human insane?" one noble muttered. "He's walking like he's taking a nature stroll." The room burst into quiet laughter. But one watcher didn't laugh. Admiral Kezran, a battle-scarred officer with cybernetic eyes, narrowed his gaze. "Look closer," he said. "Watch his movements, his eyes, his posture." Everyone went silent. Carter had stopped near a thick tree. He bent low and touched the bark. His fingers ran over a small gash claw marks. He stood still for a full minute, listening. "He's reading the environment," Kezran said. "He's tracking without tech." A few commanders leaned forward. "But how? Us. Even our best hunters can't do that." Kezran didn't answer. He just watched. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Carter kept moving slowly. Each step was careful. The jungle was full of hidden dangers. Poisonous thorns, ambush plants, hidden pits. But he moved like he belonged there. He didn't run. He didn't panic. He didn't make a sound. He crouched behind a tree and studied the ground. There were signs of few broken leaves, clawed soil, a strange smell in the air. Then, suddenly, a loud scream came from the distance. Carter didn't flinch. He quietly moved through the brush, staying low in a small clearing up ahead. An alien hunter from the Zarn Empire was being dragged by something massive. His blaster lay useless on the ground. The beast, part shadow, part muscle, snarled and vanished into the trees with its prey. Carter watched from cover. "That's it," he whispered. "The Tharnax." Back in the command ship, alarms went off. "One hunter down," called a voice. "Zarn unit has been eliminated. Cause, unknown predator." The nobles whispered nervously. "Now it begins," Kezran said quietly. Back in the jungle, Carter stayed hidden. He waited until the growls faded. Then he approached the area where the attack happened. The ground was torn. Blood soaked the leaves. But Carter didn't look afraid. He studied everything. He found a cracked scale, a dark claw print, a trail of thick slime. "Still fresh," he whispered. "It's close." He didn't chase. He circled. He was not just hunting. He was learning. From a drone high above, Carter's calm behavior confused the observers. "Why isn't he calling for help?" asked a young officer. "He just saw a hunter get killed." "He's not here to win a medal," Kezran replied. "He's here to understand the beast." Carter reached a small hilltop and sat in silence. He closed his eyes. He remembered something his grandfather once told him. To track a creature, you must first become part of its world. Let it show you who it is. Then, show it who you are. He listened. He felt the wind shift. The birds had stopped singing. The jungle was holding its breath. He opened his eyes. It's watching me, too, far away, hidden in the dark vines of an ancient tree. A pair of glowing yellow eyes stared at the human. The Tharnax had found him. But instead of running, Carter smiled. "Let's see who you really are," he whispered. The jungle was different now. It felt quieter, heavier, like it was holding a secret. Even the wind seemed slower. Carter moved through the trees with careful steps. His hands brushed aside thick leaves. His eyes scanned the ground like a puzzle. He already knew how to solve, he had seen it. The Tharnax, but seeing wasn't enough. He needed to understand it. Where it walked, how it hunted, why it killed. Most hunters would chase the beast right away. Carter didn't. He knew better. The Tharnax wasn't just fast or strong, it was smart. It studied its prey. It set traps. If you chased it, it led you to your death. So Carter did something strange. He turned and walked the opposite way. Far above. In the control ship, the alien nobles were confused. "Why is he walking away?" asked a snake-like commander. "The beast is that way." Kezran, the veteran admiral, folded his arms. "He's not hunting the creature. He's letting the trail cool." "What does that mean?" a noble scoffed. Kezran narrowed his cybernetic eyes. "It means the human is making the beast think it's safe." Down below, Carter followed a different set of signs. Broken ferns. A bent tree, a stone marked with deep scratches. The marks were fresh but wrong. "This is bait," he whispered. The Tharnax had left a false trail. It wanted to lure another hunter. Just then, Carter heard shouting in the distance. Another alien team was following the fake trail. "Don't," Carter muttered. "It's a trick." Seconds later, a deep roar shook the jungle. Gunfire, screams, silence. Carter stood still, listening to the wind shift again. The Tharnax was playing a game, but this time it wasn't the only one. Carter dropped to his knees and dug his fingers into the dirt. He rubbed it between his palms. It was cold and slightly wet. He sniffed it. A strange sour scent lingered. He moved to a tree and saw long claw marks going upward, almost 6 meters high. "It climbed," he whispered, "but not to attack, to watch." He scanned the canopy. Nothing, but he could feel it. The beast had been up there, observing him. Testing him in a nearby clearing, Carter found bones, old and clean. Skulls of different species lay in a circle, like trophies. Some were from past hunts, others were fresh. He stepped inside slowly, careful not to disturb anything in the center. There was something strange, a small polished stone tied with red vines, placed on top of a skull. He knelt beside it. "Ritual," he murmured. Or, ... warning. Just then, a low growl echoed behind him. Carter didn't turn. He spoke softly, "I'm not here to run. I'm here to understand." Silence. Then, the growl faded. He looked back. Nothing was there. But he knew. It was watching at the control center. The screen showed Carter standing inside the bone circle. "This place? It's where it kills them," said one analyst. "He's walking into a trap." But Kezran shook his head. "No, he's sending a message. He's telling the Tharnax. He's not afraid." Carter stood and looked around. Every other hunter had come here with power guns, armor, scanners. They all failed. But Carter had something. Different patience. He left the circle and began marking trees with small stones and string from his bag. Not traps. Symbols. He was building a language. "A trail for you," he whispered. "So you can find me when you're ready." That night, Carter built a small camp under a wide, root-covered tree. No fire, no lights. Just darkness. He leaned back and stared up through the leaves. He could still feel the eyes on him. The Tharnax was near, but it wasn't attacking. Not yet. Carter smiled. We're not so different, he said softly. You hunt to test them. I walk to test. You. Far behind him, unseen, the glowing eyes watched from the treetops. A low breath rumbled, then faded. The game had changed. The jungle was sleeping. But Carter was not. He sat alone beneath the giant roots of an ancient tree. The night was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind. Only the slow sound of his breathing and something else, a distant rustle. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't move. He waited, eyes open, heart steady. His body was still. But his mind was alert. The Tharnax was close. He could feel it. A shadow moved between the trees. Huge, silent, too big to be anything else. Then came the growlo, deep and close. Carter slowly stood across from him. At the edge of the tree line stood the Tharn axe. It was larger than anything he had ever seen. Over 10 feet tall, 4 muscular legs, a long tail like a whip, and thick, dark skin that shimmered. Like metal, its yellow eyes glowed like fire in the dark. Sharp tusks curved from its jaw. Its breath steamed in the cold night air. The two locked eyes. Man and beast, hunter and prey. But who was who? High above, in the orbiting command ship, alarms began to flash. Visual contact. The human and the Tharnax are in the same zone. Alien. Nobles jumped from their seats. Is this live? Is that? It's the real creature. A technician zoomed in the feed, confirmed. No drones nearby. No backup. The human is completely alone. One noble gasped. He's going to die. But Admiral Kezran leaned forward, whispering, "Watch him." Back on the jungle floor, the Tharnax stepped forward. Its heavy foot crushed a tree root. Carter didn't move. His breathing was slow, his eyes calm. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't try to scare it. He simply watched. The beast stopped. Its nostrils flared. It could smell him. But it was confused. Why wasn't the human afraid? Why wasn't he running? Carter took one slow step forward. Not a threat, not prey, just presence. The Tharnax growled again, louder this time. Still, Carter did not move. Instead, he spoke softly. "I've followed your path. I've seen how you think. You don't kill for hunger. You kill to see who deserves to live." The Tharnax blinked. Carter took another step. "You've been waiting for something different. Something that doesn't scream or run or fire guns." The beast lowered its head slightly, sniffing the air between them. Suddenly, it lunged forward. Faster than anything Carter had faced before, he ducked just in time. The claws missed his head by inches. He rolled to the side and jumped behind a tree. Bark exploded as the beast's tail slammed into the trunk. Carter ran, not from fear, but to draw it into the open. He leaped over a fallen log. Tharnax followed. He slid down a dirt slope, turned fast, and crouched. The creature leaped in. Carter moved first. He grabbed a vine from the ground, looped it around the beast's leg as it landed, and used the tree to anchor the pull. The Tharnax stumbled for half a second. That's all Carter needed. He ran straight at it, not to escape, but to climb. He leaped onto its back. The beast roared in fury. It spun, trying to throw him off. Carter held tight, using its own scales for gripped up. With a sudden move, he reached under its neck and locked his arm around its throat. The creature slammed into a rock wall. Carter grunted but didn't let go. "You want a challenge?" he hissed through clenched teeth. "You've got one." The Tharnax thrashed, its tail whipping trees and rocks. But Carter's grip held. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then, something changed. The beast stopped fighting. Its breathing slowed. It wasn't losing. It was listening. Carter felt its heartbeat, wild at first, then slowing. He didn't kill it. He let go. He stepped back. The Tharnax turned, growled low, and didn't attack. It stared at him and then not bowed its head in the command ship. Everyone was silent. The video feed showed the impossible. The human had faced the Tharnax with no weapon and won its respect. Carter looked into the beast's glowing eyes. He didn't smile, he only whispered, "Now we understand each other." And together they disappeared into the jungle shadows. The jungle wasn't quiet anymore. The Tharnax had vanished into the shadows again, but not to flee. It was circling, testing. Its heavy footsteps were silent now. It had learned to move like the human, and Carter. He stood in the middle of a clearing. No shelter, no weapons, just his breath and his bare hands. He didn't know how long it had been. Minutes? Hours? His heart was steady. He knew it would come back. But what he didn't know was that it wouldn't come alone. From high above, the orbiting command ship showed movement. New signals appeared on the tracker. Multiple life forms entering Sector 9. A technician called. "They're not hunters," Kesrin said. "They're something else." The screen zoomed in. It was a second Tharnax, then a third. The nobles gasped. "There's more than one." Carter heard them before he saw them. A branch cracked. A low hiss, 3 sets of glowing yellow eyes peered around him. He understood now. The Tharnax he faced earlier wasn't alone. It was the leader. These others were its pack, and they didn't trust him yet. The leader stepped out first, staring at Carter with sharp eyes. The second came from behind, growling low. The third circled wide, claws scraping the trees. They were testing him, deciding. He raised his hands, not in fear, but to show he carried nothing. Then the second Tharnax attacked. It leaped from the side, jaws open, claws ready. Carter ducked at the last second, rolled under its belly, and jumped onto its back. He wrapped both arms around its neck and squeezed tight. The beast thrashed wildly. Carter's body slammed into rocks and branches. But he held on. He didn't try to kill it. He just held it. Still until it stopped fighting when he released it. The Tharnax didn't run. It stared at him and backed away. The third Tharnax stepped forward. This one was bigger, smarter. It didn't charge. It waited. It crouched. Carter understood. This one would not play. It would go all out. He stepped into the center of the clearing, tightened his gloves, and nodded once. "Come on then," he said softly. The beast growled and attacked. The battle was brutal. The Tharnax slashed with razor claws, each swing meant to kill. Carter moved fast, ducking, rolling, climbing trees to avoid its jaws. Once, he leaped from a high branch onto its back, but it shook him off and slammed him to the ground. Pain exploded through his ribs, but he stood up again. Blood ran down his arms. Still, he didn't stop. He used the trees. He used the mud. He used the jungle itself. He wrapped vines around its legs to trip it. He threw sand into its eyes. He fought like a wild creature. Not like a soldier, not like a hunter, but like something the galaxy had never seen before. A human in the skies above. The nobles stared in silence. "This is impossible," someone whispered. "He has no weapons." Another said, "He is the weapon." Kesrin replied. Carter's body was shaking. His breath came in sharp gasps. The Tharnax charged again and Carter met it head-on. He slid under its body, grabbed its tail, and pulled with all his strength. The beast fell before it could rise. He jumped on its back, grabbed its neck, and locked his arms. "Enough," he shouted. More to the jungle than to the beast, the Tharnax let out a final roar, went still. Not dead, but finished. All 3 beasts, now stood around him. None attacked, none growled. They bowed their heads. Carter stood in the middle, bloodied, bruised, and covered in mud, but alive and accepted. He had passed the test. He had earned their respect, not through power, not through fear, but through understanding and will. High above, Kesrin stood from his seat. He looked at the nobles and commanders around him. "Now you see, Kue," he said, voice quiet but sharp. "This is what makes humans dangerous. Not their machines, not their weapons, but their spirit." On the jungle floor, Carter reached out slowly and touched the lead Tharnax's head. It didn't move, it allowed him, and then it stepped beside him as an equal. The impossible fight was over, but the legend was just beginning. The sun began to rise over Krell, on -4. Golden light spilled through the jungle canopy, touching every leaf, every stone, every drop of blood left behind. The nightmare darkness was finally fading, but something even more shocking was about to appear. From between the ancient trees, a figure stepped into the open. It was Carter. He walked slowly. His face was bruised, his shirt torn, his hands scratched and red. But he was standing, alive, calm, breathing. And he was not alone. Beside him walked the Tharnax. The leader behind it followed the other two. 3 of the most feared creatures in the galaxy were walking in silence beside a human, not attacking, not resisting, just walking with him together at the edge of the jungle. The galactic hunting grounds were filled with alien spectators. They had gathered early, expecting to see the last survivor dragged out by rescue drones or, more likely, hear of Carter's death. Instead, they saw this. Silence fell across the entire landing zone. Cameras zoomed in. Drones floated closer. Even the nobles in their gold robes froze mid-sip. One alien dropped his drink. Impossible. He whispered that the broadcast played across thousands of planets. Children watching in schools gasped. Soldiers on distant warships leaned closer and deep inside. The command ship, Admiral Kesrin, smiled quietly. "He did it," he said. "He tamed them." Carter kept walking. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just kept walking across the stone field. As the Tharnax leader walked beside him, as if it had chosen him, some aliens stepped back, afraid. Others knelt in respect. One of the nobles ran to the council commander. "This can't be allowed," he shouted. "This is a human. He cheated. He must have used chemicals or tech." But the commander shook his head. There was no cheating. The scans were clear. No weapons, no devices. He did it all with his own hands. Carter stopped in the center of the hunting grounds. He turned slowly and looked back at the Thrnax. It looked at him for a long moment, then lowered its head. It growled once soft, like a farewell, and turned back toward the forest. The others followed. The beasts vanished into the jungle shadows. Quiet as ghosts, Carter stood alone once again. But not really, because now the whole galaxy had seen what he was and what humans could be. Reporters rushed toward him, translators trying to speak over one another. "Carter, what did you do? Did you train them? Why didn't they attack you?" But he said nothing. He just looked up at the sky, saw the ships above, saw the eyes of thousands of species watching. And then he said, in a calm, clear voice, "They didn't want a killer. They wanted someone who listened." In the command ship, Kesrin turned to the nobles who had doubted the human from the start. "You thought he was weak," he said. "You thought bare hands meant no strength. But humans, they survive, they adapt. And when they decide to understand something, nothing can stop them." The nobles had no words, just silence. The same silence Carter had walked out with. The same silence the Tharnax had honored him with. Later, That night, long after the crowd had gone, Carter sat alone near his transport ship. He stared into the forest. He didn't need to go back to Earth. He had already changed the galaxy. Long after Carter left the jungle of Krellin 4, the stories did not stop. They grew. They spread. At first, it was just shock. A few video clips, some photos, a quiet broadcast from the Galactic Council. But within hours, the whole galaxy was buzzing with the same question: how did a human catch the galaxy's deadliest beast with no weapon? News feeds ran the footage over and over, Carter walking side by side with the Tharnax, silent and steady. Children watched in awe. Veterans wept in disbelief. Scientists argued. Warriors denied it. This must be fake, some said. It was staged, but the council confirmed it. The scans were clean. Okay, no devices. No implants, no tricks, just Carter, just bare hands, just a human on faraway mining planets. Workers paused their drills to hear the full story in deep space outposts. Alien soldiers rewatched the footage during patrol. One young Zarn soldier whispered to his commander, "Do you think all humans are like that?" The commander didn't answer. He didn't know, and that scared him. In royal palaces, alien leaders debated what it meant. Some wanted Carter studied. Others wanted him rewarded. One warlord offered 10 million credits just to speak with him. But Carter didn't accept the fame. He didn't join the interviews. He disappeared. No one knew where he went. Some said he returned to Earth. Others believed he went deeper into uncharted space, searching for other dangerous creatures. No one else dared to face. But his legend lived on. On the moons of Talvoon, hunters began to wear leather gloves in Carter's honor. On the jungle world of Yektra, Sklees taught the way of stillness, a method of patience and respect. Based on Carter's actions, statues were built, stories were sung. Even the Tharnax appeared again but never harmed anyone. They were seen in distant forests, watching quietly from the trees. Some say they still wait for him. 1 year later, at the next great hunt, a new human arrived. She was young, quiet, and carried nothing but a cloth satchel. When asked why she entered, without weapons, she simply said, because Carter didn't need any. The aliens laughed, just like before, but none of them dared to bet against her, because they remembered. They remembered the human who had walked into the jungle with nothing and came out with a galaxy's respect. In the Grand Archives of the Galactic Council, Carter's name was added to the Hall of Records. Only a few names were written there. Heroes, founders, peacemakers. Now, a human was among them. His plaque read, Carter of Earth, the one who listened, the one who endured. In a quiet corner of the jungle, Moon Krellin 4, where the trees still grow thick and the vines still move like snakes, a strange sight remains. 3 giant claw prints side by side, and a pair of human footprints right beside them, still untouched, still waiting for the next legend to begin.